Welcome to the Monday morning show. That's Ryan G. Hensley with a new updated backdrop. Looks phenomenal. I'm Grant
Appreciate it.
Cohn. And we've been talking about nothing for the last week, trying to figure out who they might play. It's the Packers, and the Packers look formidable. They're not scared of the moment like the Cowboys always are. Can we just take 1 second? 1 second.
Yes, please.
Man, they suck. They need to fire their coach, even though they won the division. They're going nowhere. And then you get rid of Dak, too, and his $60 million cap hit next year. But that's neither here nor there.
I keep getting fooled by Dak and the Cowboys, man. I keep thinking, like, at some point, they're going to figure it out in the postseason. Dak played great this year. I was like, okay, maybe Dak figured it out. Maybe the Cowboys will figure it out, but nah. Every time I bet against the Cowboys, I win. Every time I bet for the Cowboys, I lose. I took a hard L thinking the Cowboys were going to beat the Packers, man. I don't know what I was thinking. Never again.
Yeah, I think they've pretty much established themselves as a team that can beat up on bad teams, but a team that is not ready for big games. So forget the Cowboys. Interested to see what Jerry Jones does. I think he'll do something. But now we got to look at the Packers. The Packers are coming in hot, and they have a quarterback who's playing as well as any quarterback in the league. So let's look at Jordan Love, Brock Purdy, and C.J. Stroud, who played on Saturday and eviscerated the Browns.
Yeah.
Who's the best young quarterback of them all?
So this is a tough question. I posed this question on Twitter. Obviously Niner fans, they're going with Brock. Gotta love Niner fans. They're hardcore homers. And I appreciate that about Niner fans. But the truth is, man, I think if you're just looking at a straight talent standpoint, I got to go C.J. Stroud as the best quarterback of all three. I think he does everything that Brock can do, plus he has elite arm talent. He can make every throw on the field. So I got to go C.J. Stroud as the best out of the three right now. Now, if you look at like who's going to be the most accomplished when all is said and done, I think I'll take Brock. I think Brock is in the best situation, and I think he's going to accomplish more. I mean, that kid might win a Super Bowl this year. I think there's a good chance that happens. So from an accomplishment standpoint, from an achievement standpoint, when all is said and done, it might be Brock Purdy. But from an overall talent standpoint, I think C.J. Stroud and Jordan Love are both more talented than Brock Purdy and might end up being better quarterbacks than Brock Purdy. But Brock Purdy is going to be more accomplished because he is on a great team. Now, not to take away from Brock.
He's
Brock's
really
great.
good.
He's really good, right? It's not a knock on him. But I think overall talent, I think those guys have more talent, but Brock's going to accomplish more in his career.
I feel like most people would go with Stroud here. I put a poll on Twitter last night during the game. During the game that the Packers were destroying the Cowboys, and I said, who's a better quarterback? Who's better, Love or Stroud? Stroud got 82% of the vote, which to me, I mean, that shows how people feel. Why is Stroud considered head and shoulders better than Love? He's 3 years younger than Love. What Stroud just turned 22. What he's doing at 22 is freaking remarkable.
Yeah.
That being said, 25 is still pretty young. And I think people aren't really looking at Jordan Love, or maybe they're a little late. But what I see is a guy of these three. I think Love has the strongest arm. And I think he's the fastest.
Yeah.
That doesn't make him the best. But just raw tools, he's still improving. I mean, he might have the highest ceiling of these guys. You could go with Stroud because he's 3 years younger. You could go with Love because of the tools. I mean, Aaron Rodgers didn't become a starter until he was in his mid-20s, and he had the highest ceiling ever. So I don't discount Jordan Love. And then with Brock Purdy, I mean, I guess don't discount him either. Let's see what he does in these playoffs. Last year, he could have won the Super Bowl last year, but there was like a fluky injury type thing. So let's see what he does, healthy.
Yeah, actually, Jesse asked me before the season. I did a show with Jesse, and he asked me if I'd take Jordan Love or Brock Purdy. Now, I will say I was right about Stroud. I predicted he was going to be the best quarterback coming out of this draft. I said he should have been the number one. I was right about that. I was right about Jordan Love. I was wrong about Brock and how great he has been this year. But I did. Jesse asked me, would I take Jordan Love over Brock Purdy before the season? And I said I would take Jordan Love. Because of what you just talked about. You could see that with Jordan Love. I feel like all three of these quarterbacks process really well. the real big difference between them is Stroud and Love have that arm strength that Brock doesn't, and therefore can make every throw on the field.
I think what's interesting about Love is that pretty much everyone wrote him off last year, and no one really thought the Packers were doing anything transitioning to Love this year. I remember last year when people were writing off Trey Lance, people would say, hey, he's Jordan Love. Sorry, you got one of these guys. You try to put him on the bench and develop him, but hey, that's what Green Bay tried to do. And they had, that they had the blueprint. They had Aaron Rodgers to help. It didn't work for them. It's not going to work for you. And I'm not saying Trey Lance is the next Jordan Love, but it's interesting that a quarterback that was written off, didn't play for 3 years, could have a season like this. And I know Niner fans don't care about Trey Lance anymore, but he's going to be entering his 4th season next year. And I don't know if he's going to be starting, but Dallas might want to get rid of Dak Prescott or restructure that contract. And it's interesting to think of young quarterbacks who could still get a foothold in their mid-20s.
And that's what I've been saying about Trey Lance. Like, just because Brock has played really well, that doesn't mean that Trey can't at some point play really well himself. It's just about, will he get that opportunity to develop on the field? That's what he needs to do in order to get better. He needs to play. And if somebody gives Trey Lance that opportunity, who knows? Maybe he can still reach that potential, because, like it or not, whether you're a Trey hater or not, Trey Lance has a hell of a lot of potential, man. If somebody gives him that opportunity to develop on the field, you might see something like Jordan Love. And so the people that were comparing him to Jordan Love, hey, maybe you're right.
Well, it's going to be interesting to see what the next coach of the Cowboys decides to do. I don't expect Mike McCarthy to be there next year. You bring in someone else, and you look at how that season ended against a quarterback in Love. You got someone similar career trajectory. Maybe don't spend $60 million. But there's going to be all that dead cap money that they'd have to – got to get rid of Dak. Got to get rid of Dak. He's not good enough. McCarthy not good enough. We'll see what happens.
Do you think they do? Do you think they do? What do you think the Cowboys do? Do they get rid of McCarthy and Dak? Do you think that actually happens?
I don't see how you keep McCarthy after that game, after another first-round exit. I think he's got to go. Mm-hmm. And the next coach can come in and make a decision on Dak. Maybe they keep Dak 1 year, kind of like what Sean Payton did with Russell Wilson, but then sort of make his life miserable and try to get him to take a pay cut and that kind of dance. I don't know. But you can't just get rid of that contract. Like, dead money is going to be sizable.
There's a lot of coaching vacancies. I think there's like 8 coaching vacancies right now, and the Cowboys, they're going to be number 9 here shortly, I believe.
I would think so. That's an It's usually about 7. Now 8's about right, but we'll see. I mean, it usually don't fire a coach after they won the division, but how can you bring him back and feel confident? You know it's going to happen.
You know what's funny is I was thinking about, I was watching that game, is I don't know if it was on our show together or another show you were on with somebody. You're saying that he always looks worried or always looks scared or something like that, McCarthy. Mm-hmm. And I was watching that show, man, and within like 2 minutes, I was like, hey, Grant's right, man. He's out there looking worried already. I thought that was funny, man.
Yeah.
What's that?
I'm outside. Someone just flew a drone overhead. I'm like, wow, that's
crazy. Yeah.
Intense. Okay. Not enough. Oh, yeah. Not enough sauce says, how much will the 6-day turnaround hurt the Packs? It's true.
I think it's huge. I think it's huge, Grant. I looked at their injury report from last week on Friday. Mm-hmm. The longest injury report I've ever seen. 19 cats on that injury report for the Packers. Damn. That was before this game, and I think they lost at least 2 guys in this game. So, I mean, that's the advantage of having this bye week. Niners are definitely in a good position.
Yeah, the Niners should definitely win, but it's going to be a game. Matt McEwen says Niners got a great run game. Green Bay going to struggle versus the run. They did pretty good against Kyron Williams. Did they not?
Yeah. I think they gave up on it a little bit.
Keith Murphy, the unbeaten, says, I agree, Ryan. Brock will be most accomplished for short-term. Long-term, I like Stroud. I like Stroud, too. Really good. Chris Tallarico says, problem is that Brock Purdy isn't a playmaker. He's really good, but I saw stuff from Love yesterday that I haven't seen outside of a top 5 quarterback.
I think Brock is a playmaker. I just don't think he has that arm talent that Love has. The kind of the throws that he was making were phenomenal. And Brock's just not going to make those. But Brock is a playmaker within his skill set.
He just can't drive the ball like Love. Love can really drive it.
Yeah.
Brian Beltran says it would be fitting that Love is able to beat the Niners in his first playoff game against the Niners, but Rodgers could not beat the Niners. Is that where this is going? Is Love going to distinguish himself right off the bat?
I think
Love
has had the best first playoff appearance over Favre and Rodgers statistically yesterday. Yeah.
Good for him. Chris Tallarico says Trey's going to get a shot this offseason. Well, see what he does with it. I got another question. Well, how do you see this matchup breaking down? Niners-Packers, 1 versus 7 seed. On paper, you'd think this is not going to be a close game, but these might be the 2 best teams in the NFC. Maybe.
Well, I think there's a lot to it. I think we talked about the quarterback. So Love is phenomenal. I really like Love. He's done a great job. Brock Purdy's having a great season as well. Offensively, I think they're both good. But I think this Niners defense is going to be too much for that offense at the end of the day. And I think the 49ers defense is going to do a better job than the Packers defense. So I think that's going to be the difference maker. This 49ers, both teams have great offenses, right? Green Bay's younger, but they're beat up. They're coming into Levi Stadium. They got to travel to the West Coast. And this 49ers defense is going to make the difference, I believe, over the Packers. The Packers defense is good. It's not great, whereas the Niners have a great defense. I fully expect the 49ers to win this game, even though I think Love is a great quarterback. I think Brock's doing a fantastic job. This offense is elite. I fully expect the Niners to pull this one off.
Yeah, I mean, they should be expected to win. What's interesting, though, is that they're both 7-3 in their last 10. And you can say that the Packers haven't played as good a team. Like, they lost to Tampa just about a month ago, which is kind of alarming because the Niners destroyed Tampa. Also lost to the Giants by 2, but they beat the Chiefs and they beat Detroit in Detroit 29-22, which is why I feel like the Packers are the second best team in the NFC and that this game is going to be really, really, really good. 2 elite quarterbacks or 2 quarterbacks who are playing at an elite level, 2 elite running backs. Let's talk about that for a second. Aaron Jones is really good.
He is.
He may not be as good as Christian McCaffrey, like overall, but man, as a ball carrier, I think he's as good as Christian McCaffrey. Yeah. And the 2 systems are so similar, how it's based on the run and play action and pocket movement, and both quarterbacks can throw so well on the run. Really similar offenses.
Yeah. Less motion before the stamp, I would say. But other than that, it's pretty. It's damn near identical. They run the ball. They play off of play action. Love can make those big throws. But I think the big deal for the 49ers is getting Eric Armstead back this week. Yeah. He practiced last week. Him coming back is huge. Without Eric Armstead, it would scare me more. But I think Eric Armstead has been one of the most unappreciated players on this 49ers team for a while, by people like myself included. When he's gone, you see the difference in the run game. So the 49ers got to do all they can. That has been one of the weaknesses for the 49ers in their defense this year, is stopping the run. But I think with Eric Armstead, they have a much better chance to do that. I think they really need to focus in on that. If they can take Aaron Jones out of the equation, or at least reduce him and just put it all in Love's hands, then they stand a better chance. And I think they're going to. I think they're going to be ready. I think Kyle Shanahan has started preparing last night for this Packers team. I think they're going to be rested. They're going to be healthy. They're going to be ready to go. This defense, Grant, if you look at this defense this year, it seems like they got wore out twice, right? It seems like they got wore out during that 3-game skid. They were wore out. And towards the end of this season, they were wore out again. But now they had this bye week, and they're going to come back in it healthy. And all they got to go is 3 games. And I think they're poised to do that with the rest.
Well, the Niners have played the Packers twice in the playoffs the last few years. LaFleur was the coach, I want to say both times, correct? Yes? Okay. So both times, a big way the Niners won that game was shutting down Aaron Jones. He had 56 rushing yards in 2020, and he had 41 rushing yards in 2022. Last night against the Cowboys, he rushed 21 times for 118 yards and 3 touchdowns. I feel like their offense is different now with Jordan Love. With Aaron Rodgers, I get the feeling that he would sort of demand that they would pass the ball a ton. Now you have a young quarterback on his rookie deal trying to please the coach, and you got much more of a 49ers style attack where they're going to run the ball. And I think unless the Niners offense just scores a bunch of points early, if this game's close, those are the kind of games that give the Niners problem, because now run defense is an issue. Like now, you can't just make that. They're so good at scoring first, taking a lead, and making the other team one-dimensional. It's going to be hard to do that. I mean, they can do it. They can do it, but they're going to have to do it against the Packers. Otherwise, this game, they could lose. They got to get that early lead like they usually do.
That's the big thing about the two teams that I think outside of the Niners that are good in the NFC are your Packers and your Lions. They both can run the ball. And I expect, I know I'm jumping ahead here, but I think the 49ers pulled this win off against Green Bay. And I think the Bucs beat the Eagles today. And I think the Lions beat the Bucs. And I think the 49ers could be playing the Lions in the NFC Championship. I think that's a possibility. But my point is, the Lions and the Green Bay Packers, they both run the ball. That's been a weakness for the 49ers all year, stopping the run. If there's one weakness in this 49ers defense, that's it. And so they have to really just dial in and focus and stop them like they have in years past. I think they can do it again. And again, with the return of Eric Armstead, I think that's the difference.
Also, the Niners' biggest weakness, it's not, to me, the run defense. It's an issue. It's not a bad run defense. It's just not as good as it used to be. And this is always their issue, containing mobile quarterbacks. And it's not about the scrambles, although those hurt. But to me, it's the throws from outside the pocket. Because the Niners want to rush for and play zone. Yeah. Well, when you do that and your DNs scream up field past the quarterback, it's really easy for him to get outside the pocket. When you get outside the pocket, zone coverages break down. All of a sudden, it's just plastering. I find someone and run with them. So now, like, all the advantages you had, the pass rush gone, the zone defense gone. You're just holding on for dear life while Jordan Love is toying with you. Or Lamar Jackson is toying with you. Am I going to cross the line of scrimmage and run? Not yet. I'm going to throw. You can't let Jordan Love do that to you because he has the skill set to do all of that. And that's how the Niners lose.
I feel like this 49ers defense fully rested is going to get after Jordan Love. I feel like Nick Bosa, Chase Young, Javon Hargrave, Eric Armstead are going to put a ton of pressure on that Packers offensive line. They're going to be able to slow down that run, and they will get after Jordan Love. Whether they can contain him or not, that's going to be the key. Like
that's my problem. Like when they get after a quarterback, sometimes they let him out of the pocket. Like sometimes it's better to just contain him than to get after him. But that wide nine is all about, all gas, no brakes, none of that reading and reacting stuff that they did against Philly that worked so well.
Yeah, and you made a good point with this Packers offense. Now that Aaron Rodgers is gone, it's Matt LaFleur is free to just anybody, right? There's no divas on this team calling for the ball every time.
Youngest team in the league.
I think the fourth youngest to ever make the playoffs. In the history of the NFL. So all these guys, they're just playing, right? Like they're just free. They're just whoever's open is who I'm going to pass to. We're going to run the ball. And I've been using this expression for a while now, but they are that dog, that pit bull off the leash, right? They have nothing to lose. No one expected them to beat the Cowboys. No one's expecting them to beat the Niners. They can just come out here and play free. And I do expect Love to make some plays off script on the 49ers, but I just don't think it's going to be enough. I think the 49ers have the superior defense, and they definitely can match them offensively.
For sure.
So I think Niners end up pulling this one off. These Packers are beat up, man. I think that's a big part of this. If the 49ers, if they don't come out rusty, it's over. It's over. The Packers have no chance. Their best hope is that they come out rusty and the Packers can take the lead early. If that happens, it's a different ball game. But if the 49ers don't come out rusty, I don't see the Packers having a chance in this one.
I think they have a chance. I feel like we're underselling what they're doing. They're 7-3 in their last 10, just like the Niners. And their quarterback is just as much of an MVP candidate over the last 10 as Brock Purdy. I mean, their defense isn't great, but the Niners defense has had some stinky performances the last few weeks too.
To me, it's about the key is, can this offense come out clicking from the jump? If they do that and they play Niners football and they take the lead early, that's when I say Packers have no chance. Now, if the Niners don't do that, if they don't come out clicking, if they do come out rusty, that's when this becomes a real ball game.
Here's why we'll stop with the Packers in a minute and move on to our prize picks. But here's why the Packers offense is tough to stop and why they're clicking right now. They're a lot like the Niners. There's not one guy you need to shut down. They're all threats, and they spread the ball around. They're balanced and run pass. It's not like, if you go in and shut down Romeo Dobbs, you're good. Like, no, absolutely not. And that's the same way the Niners are. Makes them really tough. I mean, I think most people would say that the Niners have a better coach then I don't think LaFleur's that good. I think he messed up the clock management at the end of that game, let it be too close, but his play design was on point, was it not? I mean, how many times did Jordan Love have wide open guys down the field?
Yeah. And the one thing about the Packers is they're so young that they're going to be competitive for a while with this group. I think they're just going to get better probably next year.
All those guys are on rookie contracts. If you think about it, now that they've established themselves as a contender, they should be able to finally make some big moves in free agency. And I mean, they're a year away. They shouldn't beat the Niners, but look what they did to the Cowboys. They beat them. I mean, at a certain point, it was just as bad as it was when the Niners played the Cowboys. They could have finished that game better, and that's on them. But really, the last 10 games, they're an elite team. And they showed that they're better than the Cowboys. Like, that was not a fluke. If those teams played 10 times, the Packers would win 8 of them, 7 of them.
Yeah. They're good. I just think their defense is not on the level of the Niners. And that's going to be the difference.
Jair Alexander's quite good. But
he is, but he's injured. He might not even play. I'm not sure if he's playing.
Yeah, I saw that. It's true.
Yeah.
All right. Let's do some prize picks, playoff edition. Hold on. Okay, here we go. Just the Niners. Starting with Brock against the Packers, 266.5 passing yards, more or less.
That's a tough one. I feel like it's going to be right about there, but I'm going to go more. I feel like he's been above that recently. I'm not really worried about the Packers defense. To me, the only way he doesn't go above that is if this game's out of hand early and he doesn't have to really pass that much.
Yeah, one of those Jimmy Garoppolo games where they just hands off. I could see that. But 266.5, I think he can do better than that. He's been averaging like 280 over the last 10, 288.
Correct.
Christian McCaffrey, 89.5 rushing yards.
I'm going more. I think Kyle gets back to the identity that he lost against the Ravens, and they just run the hell out of the ball. So I think Christian McCaffrey's going about that.
Yeah, you can't let the Packers be more balanced and committed to the run than you when you have the better running back. You can't let Aaron Jones outplay Christian McCaffrey in this game. I'm with you more. Also, McCaffrey, demand the freaking ball. Don't let what happened on Christmas happen again. Your name is Christian. That was Christmas. Never should have happened.
Right.
Brandon Ayuk, 62.5 receiving yards, more or less.
Man, I just want to go more. Maybe I'm being a homer today. I want to go more on all of these right now. I think Ayuk, he is going to go off in this playoff run. Ayuk's been phenomenal all year, so I got Ayuk going over 62.5. I think that's an easy one. Yeah,
he's got to factor in big time in the game plan, considering it's been his season. And if we got Brock going more than 266.5, then stands to reason Ayuk would be more than 62. All right, Debo, 58.5 receiving yards, snubbed as a Pro Bowler. No, really the only guy in this offense that got no accolades this year. What's he going to do in his first playoff game?
I mean, again, maybe this doesn't make sense, but I just feel like this Packers defense isn't going to be able to contain this offense, and I got him going more in that one as well.
I believe it. A lot of times in these games when Debo's been slighted, Kyle goes to him and he plays well. George Kittle, last one, 51.5 receiving yards, more or less.
I like their safeties they got on Green Bay. I got to go under with somebody. I'm going to go under with Kittle here.
Okay, fair enough. Let's get one Packer. How about that?
All right.
Packers. You want to do Jordan Love or Aaron Jones?
I think I'm going to go Aaron Jones under. I think less.
Okay, I like that.
Yeah.
Because you got the Niners win.
Yeah, I think 49ers really focus and dial in on stopping Aaron Jones. And like you said, he's faced the 49ers twice in the playoffs and never been able to go over that number. I think they hold him under. Yeah.
That's correct. Let's see if Steve Wilkes can keep the streak going. Brock Purdy more, Christian McCaffrey more, Ayuk more, Debo more, Kittle less. Sorry, George. Aaron Jones less. Lock it in. $40 to win 920.
That's good money.
Hey, you want to play? Use promo code Cohn, COHN. Get a 100% deposit match up to $100 on prize picks. All right.
That's the plan.
All right. Tell me about this opportunity that Brock Purdy has in front of him this weekend.
Yeah, I was thinking about Brock. It's kind of a little bit unfair for Brock Purdy in a way, right? Like he's obviously in a great situation. So people, when he plays good, people say, well, he should play good. Look at his situation. Look at his play calling. Look at his weapons. He should play good. So it's hard for him to achieve anything. hard for him to cement himself as a legitimate. And you get people calling him the game manager, this and that. Well, the one way that he can surpass that is by winning the Super Bowl this year. This is a big opportunity for Brock Purdy, regardless of weapons, play caller, all of that. And there'll still be some naysayers, regardless, even if he wins a Super Bowl. But when you're a Super Bowl winning quarterback, it's not much you can say. Now, you can come out again next year and keep performing. And this is how Brock has an opportunity to cement himself as legitimate. Like, even, you and I, we're saying Jordan Love, CJ Stroud's better than Brock Purdy. Well, if Brock Purdy comes out here and leads his team to a Super Bowl, I think he could kind of seal the deal as far as what he's accomplished so far, and that surpassing the situation that he's in.
Yeah, and the point here to me is that it's all comes down to the playoffs.
Right.
And that's what we were trying to say. And it's kind of a boring thing to say during the season when you're in the moment. But Brock's having a great regular season. And that matters. He could get an MVP. When you look at his box score when he's 50 years old, that'll all be there. But ultimately, his legacy will be determined by what he does this next month. Because look at CJ Stroud right now. His numbers weren't as good as Brock Purdy's in the regular season. But if CJ Stroud goes to the Super Bowl and Brock doesn't, no one's going to think Brock's better than CJ Stroud. Like, this is where you make your legacy. If CJ Stroud wins a Super Bowl this season, if Jordan Love wins a Super Bowl this season, those guys are looked at as elite franchise quarterbacks. And same for Brock Purdy. That's what's at stake. Right. And it's at stake for Kyle Shanahan and these coaches as well. Like, that's why the playoffs are the best. And that's why Kyle Shanahan, we look at him a little funny. It's like, look, we understand how much pressure is on these games. It's like 1,000 times more than the pressure in a game in November. What are you going to do? Because we've seen it before.
Yeah, think about, how do we look at Steve Young, Joe Montana, and then Jeff Garcia, right? Jeff Garcia put up numbers better than Joe Montana and Steve Young at times, right? But we still he's not even on the level of Steve Young.
He had that 124-point comeback win against the Giants, but that's essentially his playoff moment. You're right.
Right. We don't look at him. What you got to do is win the Super Bowl. Brock Purdy has an opportunity. This is the year, man. We saw Tashawn Gibson on Richard Sherman's show recently. I don't know if you picked that up, but Tashawn Gibson said, this is the best team I've ever been on. And basically said that they are going to win a Super Bowl. He's like, he backed off a little bit because he saw himself going ahead of himself, right?
Just do it.
Yeah, but like, he feels like this is their opportunity. This is their one shot. If Brock Purdy can't lead this team this year to the Super Bowl, when is he going to? I feel like this is the opportunity for Brock Purdy to do his thing. But that being said, he did have some pushback on the game manager thing. He needs to be a game manager right now because they are in a great spot. Just don't turn the ball over, man. Get the ball to your weapons. Hand off to Christian McCaffrey, and this 49ers team should go all the way.
Yeah, like there's all this negative connotation of like managing the game. That's exactly what Stroud and Love did this weekend. Neither one threw the ball more than 21 times. Neither one turned the ball over. Like, they had explosive plays. They put up big points while managing the game. They weren't necessarily playmakers yesterday. They just did their job as well as they possibly could without trying to do too much, which is all Brock needs to do. And if he does do that, they should win.
And are you worried at all about Kyle? I mean, you're not worried because you don't care about the outcome either way. Yes. But like, are you worried about Kyle coming out trying to be something different than what they've always been, which is run game, defense, play action? Are you worried about that?
Let's talk about it. Let's talk about what's at stake for Kyle Shanahan against the Packers. This has been a very good year for Kyle. Again, regular season. You could argue it's been his best regular season yet. It's been terrific. No one cares if he loses this game. And no one expects him to lose this game. But look what just happened to Mike McCarthy. A lot of people expected that. Maybe some didn't. I did. Yeah. He loses. And now you go from talking about, him being one of the best coaches in the league to getting fired. Or Dan Quinn, talking about him going to maybe Seattle to be the head coach to getting fired, potentially. That's how bad Dan Quinn was. Now, Kyle, if he finds a way to lose to the Packers, they're a really good team. It wouldn't be a total mess up. How would people look at him? Now,
it would be. It would be a mess.
He finds a way to like wiggle out of responsibility, right? Like if Brock gets hurt, it's no one's fault. If Brock throws a bunch of picks, it's Brock's fault. And if the defense gives up a bunch of points, it's on Steve Wilks. But I wonder if eventually or ultimately people will look at Kyle like, hey, man, you can't keep throwing subordinates under the bus when it's you. So I think a lot's at stake for him in this game.
It is, man. He has to prove he can get over the hump. Otherwise, he's the Dak Prescott of coaches at some point, right? He's got to go all the way, man. This is the team. This is the year to do it, and really, no excuses should matter at this point. I mean, if you're not going to win it this year, when are you going to win it? Kyle Shanahan's got to come out and beat. To me, it would be a disaster if they don't beat the Packers, right? It'd be a disaster in general. This team is too damn good. Even Tashawn Gibson just said it. It's the best team he's ever been on in his entire career, and he's been playing for a long freaking time. Kyle Shanahan has put himself in position to win 2 Super Bowls and folded in those 2 moments. He's got to get over that hump. And if he doesn't, it's horrible. He becomes the Dak Prescott of coaches at some point, man. He's got to do it. He's got to do it. There's a lot at stake for Kyle Shanahan. Now, he's not going to lose his job, and he's going to be back here competitive again next year.
He's not going to lose his job, but
no.
If they lose to the Packers, someone's losing their job, and obviously the easy scapegoat is Wilks. Just like with the Cowboys, don't be surprised if Dan Quinn gets straight up fired for what happened, and they replace him with Wink Martindale. How about that?
Martindale. You know what's crazy about Quinn? He was supposed to get all these head coaching opportunities, but how do you hire him as a head coach after what happened yesterday?
Nah, man, he's gonna have to find another defensive coordinator job, and it could be with the Niners.
That's a good one. But
although I'm not sure he's better than Wilks, but I'm saying if the Niners lose to the Packers, someone's getting fired, and it won't be Kyle. It'll either be scapegoated. It'll be Wilks or Purdy. And we're either going to be having the conversation, man, Purdy melted down again.
Yeah.
Is he that guy? Or, geez, Wilks had a really good year, but first playoff game couldn't do it. Like, this guy just isn't good enough. D'Amico did good in his first playoff game. Salah did good in his first playoff game. Yeah. So a lot's at stake for Wilks in this game. Really, no one cares what you did in the first half of the first season. I mean, regular season.
Hypothetical. Purdy melts down in this game, and we see a Browns game. What happens to Brock Purdy?
Well, great question. Well, I could tell you what the conversation would be all offseason.
Yeah, it would be that.
How legitimate is Brock as a franchise quarterback? Is he a product of the system? Is he a game manager? Did he try to do too much? Is he the guy for the future? Should they draft another quarterback? All those conversations come up if he loses this game and he throws picks.
Yeah.
There's a lot at stake for the Niners. There's a lot of pressure. There's no pressure on the Packers. They're already way ahead of where they should be. Beating the Cowboys was great. They celebrated like they won the Super Bowl. They beat the Niners too. Oh my goodness. The Niners, if they lose this game, oh my God. Yeah. It's just the biggest collapse ever. It's I mean, you look at everyone differently at that point. Kyle could point the finger to whomever, but you look at him differently. You look at Brock differently. You look at Steve differently. You look at Bosa differently. Like, again, guys, you kept this group together for 4 years to do this again. Got to win this game. It doesn't matter if it's by 1 point. You've got to win this game.
Yeah, and I fully expect them to. It is weird to think that the Niners could be one and done. It's a possibility. It's very like
happens.
A minute possibility in my
mind. Hey, man, there's a possibility it's going to rain in this game.
Yeah, I know it's Sunday. Is it going to rain Saturday as well?
I don't know.
Yeah,
I haven't talked to Mother Nature yet, but I'm going to talk. See what happens.
Talk to him. See what happens.
Talk.
It's a possibility, man. I mean, it's weird to think that this season has a possibility of ending on Saturday, and I just can't accept it. I just don't think that that's going to happen. I think the Niners are going to live up to what their potential this year. Maybe that's the homer in me talking, man, but I really just I gotta see the Niners win. I want my kids to see a Super Bowl win, and I feel like everything. I mean, all these achievements and awards and records that they're breaking, it reminds me of those 90s teams that used to win Super Bowls. And I feel like that's where they're headed. That's the trajectory. It feels like a special season. I refuse to accept the fact that this is going to end on Saturday. I don't see that happening.
Short week for the Packers, 4th road game in their past 5. Yeah, I mean, the Niners
19 people on their injury
and
list.
That's even more reason why things would go really weird if the Niners lost, because it's the 7th seed. It's the youngest team in the league. You're the 4th oldest team in the league. The Packers are only going to be better next year. You're not going to be as good next year. You got to win this game. Otherwise, people are looking at you a lot like they look at the Cowboys right now.
Yeah.
A lot like they look at Dak. They look at McCarthy. Like they look at Quinn and Prescott. That's what's waiting for the 49ers if they lose this game. No one cares.
Yeah. Is Juice going to be better next year? Is Kittle going to be better next year?
No.
Is Debo going to be Trent Williams? No. This is the year. You know who is going to be better next year, I think, in my opinion, is the NFC West. And I think Seattle might be at the bottom of that. I can see the Cardinals being better next year. Man, Puka Nacua is the truth, brother. I think the Rams could
be
way
better than I realized. He's so good.
He's hella good. Like the Rams could be good. Cardinals could be good. We'll see what happens with the Seahawks and their coaching, but they don't really have a quarterback to me to make them better. But NFC West could be better next year. And the Niners are aging. This is the year, man. They got to make it happen. I feel like they're going to.
Hadrian Medina says Nick Bosa has to show up in this game. Last year in the playoffs, he recorded 0 sacks, but yet still got paid $122 million. It's time for Nick to show up. Yeah, he's been real professional all year, talking to the media. Maybe that's his way of like getting us to not talk about the fact that he had like 10 sacks this year and wasn't all pro, first team, second team, like kind of had a down season for his standard and for his price point. So if you could step it up now, no one will care how much money you're making.
It would be great if this entire pass rush stepped it up right now. Now's the time. Right?
Yep. And don't let Love out of the pocket, please. Keith Murphy, the unbeaten, says, side note, I hope Seattle hires Dan Quinn. Yeah. That guy's going to be a D coordinator next year somewhere other than Dallas. That's my hot take. Maybe here. Ben Some Metal Ford says, Brock going to throw 4 picks and Jones will dominate.
Damn. No way.
I don't know about 4.
Nah.
Lawless Light says this has to be the year we are the oldest team in the NFC at this point. Yeah,
it
man.
has to be the year.
You can't keep running it back. It's been 4 years. Chris Hooper, Grant, gotta take me to prom if the Niners win the Super Bowl.
Do it. Do it.
Yeah. Belligerent Ideas has been a member for 28 months. All right, cool. Thank you. Chris Tallarico says, Ryan, that's what I meant by playmaker at quarterback. Brock can't hit half those throws Love did. Brock Purdy's good and processes his reads quickly, but he's not hitting fadeaway touchdowns. I'd rather have Love, easy choice. He processes pretty well too, man.
Yeah, they both Stroud processes well, Love processes well. They do have better arm strength, but the first thing I noticed about Brock Purdy, like his first preseason, I called him a playmaker because he sees the field, he can come off script. Brock Purdy is a playmaker, man. Don't get it twisted. He is. It's just he's a little limited in his arm talent.
Yeah. Sometimes he tries to write checks that his butt can't cash. You got to be careful about that. You don't want to be overdrawn.
Yeah. My dad used to say that expression all the time.
It's a terrible expression. It's such a dad thing to say.
Yeah.
Chris Tallarico says Green Bay is strong where SF is weak. Should be a good game. I think it's going to be a hell of a game. This team beat Detroit and Kansas City. The Niners could too. But I think this team's legit. They also lost to Tampa. I don't know why. I'll have to watch. Keith Murphy. How many times has LaFleur beaten Kyle?
Once, right?
Once. That's true. That's right. 2021, week 3.
I think so.
Nope says, very dangerous game. My concern is the secondary and safety speed versus the Packers wide receivers. Remember Jordan Addison? Now Dobbs, Watson, Reeds, Wicks. Some good wide receivers. They really do.
Yeah. Good young receivers.
Yeah. Yep. Michael Brown, Foles, and Dilfer won Super Bowls. $2. Is that true?
It's true. Believe it or not.
Okay. Little known fact. Adam said has been a member for 5 months. Damn, my guy just said Dak Prescott of coaches. He did.
Hey, if he loses, yeah.
Salah Safadi says both of these offenses struggle against good linebackers. Cowboys have bad linebackers. Niners elite linebackers. True. No wonder you saw those guys wide open.
Yeah, I think all offenses struggle against elite linebackers. Right?
Keith Murphy, the unbeaten, says, Ryan, he can never be the Dak of coaches. Dak can't get past the divisional.
Yeah, you know what I mean. But yeah, I see what you're saying. Good point.
Moises, I still like that. It's a good phrase. Moises Rosales says that the Niners lose to Moody missing field goals, PATs. How does that not fall on Lynch Shanahan? They're responsible for constructing the roster. I don't want to cute. We would have won the Super Bowl if we had a kicker. That's true. We were talking about what's at stake for Kyle. You could put it on. You could put it on Wilkes. You could put it on the quarterback. You can't put it on the kicker because that was Kyle's choice. You could have made up Robbie Gould, given him $5 million and told him take one more year away from your family, I'm sure you would have done it. I can't say I'm sure. Guessing.
Right. Yeah,
I mean,
there's a lot. I mean, if the kicker doesn't work out, that's on Kyle. If Brock doesn't work out, he got rid of Trey because they didn't have time to develop a quarterback because they're a win now team. But if Brock doesn't pull through in the playoffs, they can't say, oh, he's developing, he's still young. Well, you said this is a win now team, and that's why you got rid of Trey. So both things are going to be on Kyle. Like if Brock doesn't perform, if Moody doesn't perform, ultimately that goes back to Kyle.
Chris Tallarico says, unfortunately, nothing will ever fall on Kyle.
Probably.
Look, that's up to us.
Yeah, that's up
I'm
to
not
us.
saying he's going to get fired, that Jed's going to do anything, but it's all about the conversation about the team. Even there, where there's no real accountability, it's just public accountability, he skirts that.
Yeah.
Not this year if they lose in the first round. You're the freaking head coach. Win this game. Find a way. Don't put it on one of your underlings, one of your subordinates like you always do.
Last year, I tweeted out when they lost to the Eagles, I said there will be no coddling of Kyle Shanahan this offseason. It was my most hated tweet of all time, Grant. But I'm going to say the same thing right now. If Kyle doesn't pull this off, there will be no coddling of Kyle Shanahan, at least by Grant and I can tell you that much.
And even if they try to even if like Purdy gets hurt or there's a big injury and Kyle tries to skirt it that way, it's like, man, you do this every year. You do this every year. You got to be able to find a way to win or keep your quarterback healthy or something, man. I don't know. I just don't want to hear an excuse. I want to see them win the Super Bowl this year because everyone expects it. Everyone expects it. Everyone is just so certain they're going to win the Super Bowl. And if they don't, I don't want people to all of a sudden have revisionist history like, well, actually, they weren't the best team. Like, nah. All year I heard they're the best team with the best coach. Like, finish the job.
Yeah. And you got the next Steve Young. If someone's having a Brock, you got the next Steve Young. So we're
Keith
good.
Murphy. It's not impossible we go one and done. It happened to us during our Super Bowl era with Montana, but this is our year. It'd been a lot better if they could have faced Tampa or Philly in the first round. This to me seems like the worst case. We even saw the Rams in this game, in that last game. The Rams. I mean, I'll take Aaron Jones over Kyren Williams. I mean, Stafford was great. I'm not going to take anything away from Stafford, but
dude's tough, man.
I think I'll take the Packers defense over the Rams defense. I think Aaron Donald's done.
Yeah, I mean, Aaron Donald's he's still good, but he's not enough. Right? Yeah. They don't really have much outside of him on that defense. So you can't defense you need 11 players, at least 8.
Beats and Meat says, what do the Packers do better than the Niners?
I think the only thing they do better to me is they have a quarterback that can make every throw on the field. I think that's the only difference, or the only advantage they have.
Kind of nice thing to have. Quarterback who can make any throw on the field and move, and he's mobile, and he doesn't know picks. That's the thing, man. Look. Brock's great. 10 picks in his last 10 games. This was an issue for him in college, training camp, and the last 10 games. 4 of them were in one game, but still. Love isn't playing like that. Love isn't trying to prove that he's a gunslinger. He's not having like little private conversations with Mark Schlereth or back and forths with Cam Newton. He's just doing his job. And if the Niners lose, to the Packers, you can almost guarantee Brock's not going to pick in that game. So
I think they've lost every game.
They protect the football better than the Niners in the last 10 games. Beats and Meats.
Yeah, I really, when I just look at this team, I think Love is super talented, but Brock Purdy is talented too. They got the best weapons. They got the best coordinator. They got a better defense. Ultimately, I think all that's going to come together and be too much for the Packers.
What do you think the spread is?
I don't know. I haven't checked yet. I would imagine it's 6 for the Niners.
Let me look it up real quick over on BetUS, which also
I'm guessing it's 6.
Wild
maybe
card
7.
Divisional. Okay, here we go. Oh, no.
What is it? 10?
Try again.
10?
Yeah. 10.
Yeah.
10.
Mm-hmm. Do you think they cover?
I think the Packers cover that. 10 points. I think it's going to be a close game. I do think the Niners should win the game. I don't know. We'll see how many injuries the Niners and the Packers have. But, yeah, they should be favored. 6 sounds better to me. 5 sounds better. 4. 10? Yeah. They're both 7-3 in the last 10. All right. Well, look. the betting public doesn't know anything about the Packers. Everyone knows about the Niners. They're a very high-profile team with a bunch of stars. Packers aren't. I get it. But that's the perception, guys. Like, Kyle, you find a way to lose this game with a 10-point favorites? I'm sure Kyle hates that too. He's like, man, that seems good. Like, why? Why do we need this?
Yeah. I mean, I could see it getting out of hand, though. I could see the Niners having one of their just ass
they can do it to anybody. Right? When they win, they tend to win big.
You're right.
Flavor Reborn Restoration says, do you think if Brock Purdy wins Super Bowl, doubters will quiet down with all the Purdy slander? Yeah, I don't think there's that much Purdy slander, but it did seem kind of messed up that he didn't get second team All-Pro and Dak did. I think that's where you kind of see the slander. I think even his own peers or the people around the league look at him like, he just doesn't have the talent. So if he wins the Super Bowl, he should have been second team All-Pro, man. Enough of this Dak stuff. Dak is enough.
That's the challenge for Brock. That's what I'm saying. I think I brought it up earlier. It's like when he does good, they're like, oh, you should have done good. Yeah, look at your team. Look at your coordinator, right? It's like a and when
it's bad, it's like, oh, see?
Yeah.
So that's what we were talking about. He did it once this year.
He's got to be excellent to overcome that, which means winning the Super Bowl.
Yeah, that's it. Yeah. Absolutely. All right, not a Niner topic, but a former Niner coach coming back to the NFL. Could be coming back to the NFC West. Who knows? Where do you think Jim Harbaugh will land?
This is interesting, right? So there's 8 head coaching vacancies that I know of, probably going to be 9 by the end of the day, I'm guessing, maybe even already. I haven't been watching the news while we've been doing this show, but New England, Chargers, Washington, Atlanta, Seattle, Carolina, Las Vegas, Tennessee, and probably the Cowboys all have coaching vacancies after the next day or two. But I think it really the ideal situation for Jim Harbaugh, he's coming from where he was at the head of the Niners, but he had to answer to Trent Baalke. He had to answer to Jay York. He has earned the right from what he's done when he was coaching the Niners, what he's done with Michigan, to this time say, hey, I'm not going to come into the NFL unless I have complete control over my GM, personnel, player decisions, roster moves, all of that.
Yeah. Just like Kyle.
Right? And
right. Like Kyle hired John Lynch, and John Lynch is the general manager, but like Harbaugh's going to have his John Lynch.
Correct. And so to me, if I'm Jim Harbaugh, that situation exists in LA with the Chargers.
Right.
And
they don't have a general manager.
They don't have a general manager, right? So he's going to hire his own general manager.
Yeah.
And he gets an elite quarterback to start with. He's going to be slapping Justin Herbert's shoulder pads before games. I can see it happening.
Too perfect. As long as they pay him the right amount of money, it's just perfect.
Then you get that LA weather.
West Coast.
Yeah. You've been in Michigan in the snow for hella long, man, trying to get that LA weather. I think it's the perfect scenario. That's where I would go.
He played for San Diego. You have history with the franchise. Yeah. They're based in Costa Mesa, which is just lovely. My friend Patrick Gordon, shout out Patrick, lives in Costa Mesa. It's just a lovely place over by Huntington Beach, I want to say.
Yeah.
It's nice. You can do worse.
No-brainer. Yeah,
it's a no-brainer. And it's like, if you're coming back to the league, you have an opportunity to coach a top 5 quarterback. Take that.
Take that. Like Puff Daddy. I mean, take that.
Take that. You can't make Puff Daddy references anymore.
That's true. That's true. My bad.
But I'm just saying that. I mean, you don't like Washington's a good opportunity, right? They have the second pick in the draft. You could get a great quarterback, or you could get Zach Wilson. So you take Justin Herbert and just
I mean, what other situation? You're not going to go to Atlanta. Who's your quarterback? Unless he wants to pick a quarterback. I mean, you're not going to go to Seattle.
You could take Penix and hope.
You could.
Good. But I'd rather just have Herbert. Like, in what world is Penix going to be better than Herbert? Why would you do that?
Right. Yeah, that's rolling the dice there, right? I mean, you could go to.
Is any quarterback in this draft going to be better than Herbert?
I don't know.
Maybe.
That's tough. I don't think so.
Not for a while.
No. You're not going to go to Vegas. You don't want to work under whatever is. I can't think of his name right now. You don't want to work under that guy with the haircut. You don't want to work under that guy.
But there's no GM there. That's another spot where he could just take over. But
doesn't the owner basically run that? Doesn't the owner basically want to have his hand? He's like a Jerry Jones Jr., isn't he?
I don't think so. I think he wants to hand it over to someone like John Gruden, who'll do everything for him. But I mean, what do you have there? You have older Devontae Adams, Aiden O'Connell.
Yeah, overpaid Jimmy G.
It seemed like from if I were Harbaugh, what Harbaugh should do is you need a second team as leverage because the Chargers are going to lowball you. So you'll say, okay, I love it, love it, love it. What are you offering? Okay, I'd like twice that. And the Raiders are willing to pay it. This team's willing to pay it. Like, you're going to be a freaking laughing stock if you let me slip through your fingers over money it doesn't even affect the salary cap pay up.
Right.
He needs that leverage.
It's the ideal situation for any one of these coaches that's out on the market trying to land a coaching job. You want that San Diego Chargers job.
Yeah.
No question.
Just no question. Now, Cowboys are interesting if they fire McCarthy because it's a good team too. But
Harbaugh don't want
Dak's an issue with that contract. That's just an issue. And the owners are very meddlesome. You would not have total control. Philly's interesting too if they fire Howie Roseman after tonight. We'll see. But again, not Howie Roseman. Sorry, Nick Sirianni. But I have Howie Roseman on the brain. He's like the most meddlesome GM in the freaking league.
Right.
So I don't know if Harbaugh would want to go there either. Don't know.
Right. He is not going to want to be in a situation where he can't make all the decisions.
Take over. Yeah. And that's why I don't think he's going to go to Seattle either. Like,
right.
Are they going to let you take over? I don't think
Pete
so.
Carroll's still there. The guy that beat him in the Super Bowl or the NFC
really like
Championship. Yeah.
So that's good news for the Niners. I don't really know who's going to land in Seattle. It's not going to be, it can't be Dan Quinn. If they hire Dan Quinn after what he just did, how could people be excited about it? Also, I'm going to go on tangents for a second. What's the point of firing Bill Belichick, for example, and replacing him with someone from his staff? Like, what did you do? What did you just accomplish? Maybe I don't see it, but the Bill Belichick coaching tree is notoriously awful. And you got rid of Belichick to not go in a new direction. Like, you should have just kept Belichick.
Yeah. What's the coordinator again? I always forget his name for the Lions.
Ben Johnson.
Ben Johnson should be your pick. You know, if it's not Harbaugh, you should be trying to get Ben Johnson because.
Well, I think he's going to go to Washington. Washington seems like the most desirable team that doesn't have a franchise quarterback because there's a new rich ownership group and the number 2 pick, a bunch of picks.
And it's very tough. Like I don't like
Adam Peters was all over that.
I don't like my head coach being the defensive guy. You know, I appreciate DeMeco Ryans, but what happens if Kubiak or whoever leaves, right? Whoever his offensive coordinator leaves, what happens? They got to restart the whole offense again. Slow it. That's
slow
right.
It. And that happens. He's already he could get hired this year. He's already in the running. And
right.
It happens to all these coaches.
So you got to start over a new offense unless you can promote someone within and hope they can do the same. I'm going with an offensive guy, and that's why I think Ben Johnson should be your guy or Harbaugh should be your guy, not these defensive coaches.
Yeah, it's just interesting. Like the Seahawks and the Patriots think they have a culture. They think they're just their head coaches.
Yeah,
got a little old. So
you know what the Patriots had, bro?
What? Tom Brady.
You
know what the Seahawks had? Russell Wilson.
Yeah,
Hall of Fame quarterbacks or borderline Hall of Fame quarterbacks in Russell Wilson's case. And it's like I bet you Seattle is gonna hire Dan Quinn because it's like, oh, it's from we want to keep what do you mean? Get an offensive coach, join 2024, please, because you're stuck in 2013.
Correct. Absolutely. Yeah.
Philip David Davies says, why was everyone overselling Flacco's performance but underselling Love's performance? Fluffing Dak going into that game. Let's go Niners. I don't know. A lot of good questions there.
Hey, man, Flacco was balling, man, and he has that history of success. I thought Flacco was going to do way better than he did. He looked like trash. I thought Dak was going to do better. I was wrong on both those guys. They both crapped the bed, for lack of a better
Flacco's done. He's old. But Dak, like, we've seen you do this a lot of times now, man. And in the past, we gave you passes because it was against the Niners, and they're really good. But against Green Bay?
Sometimes I feel like when I see a trend over long periods of time, I think, okay, well, at some point that has to change, right? But I guess not. Maybe that's the wrong way of thinking. Maybe when I see a trend, I just got to think that that's going to continue.
Did you not laugh out loud when he threw his first pick in that game?
Yeah, and I called the second one.
Hilarious.
I felt that he was, even after that first pick, he was throwing some dangerous passes. And I told my sons, I'm like, watch, he's going to throw another one right here. And then boom. Another one. Yeah.
Dude, I'm looking at his spot track right now. His cap hit next year. This year was 26.8. Next year is 59.4. They're going to have to renegotiate that.
They got
his dead cap hit is 61.9, so they can't get rid of him. They're gonna have to extend his contract or renegotiate it. I don't know, man.
Yeah.
Yikes. Well,
That's
their
crazy.
problem. I wouldn't want to be their coach. I wouldn't want to deal with Dak. I wouldn't want to deal with Jerry. Good luck
No.
to you two. I
Yeah.
wouldn't want to be that coach.
Me neither. I'm going to the Chargers, man, for sure.
Thank
Absolutely.
you.
Yes.
You want to live in Dallas or Costa Mesa?
Right. No question. Zero
Chris
question.
Tallarico, the Chargers is way, way, way too cheap to hire Jim Harbaugh and what he will bring with them. If they don't hire Jim Harbaugh and they bring in some weak, no-name defensive coach, they should be obligated by the NFL to trade Justin Herbert.
Yeah.
Just holding him hostage. That's what they did to Phillip Rivers. Although they did give him Norv Turner. Anyway, Beats and Meat says, rumor has it that there's already a contract in place for Harbaugh to the Chargers. He's given Michigan a few weeks to celebrate before bouncing.
I don't think he'll give him a few weeks. I believe the offer's on the table, but a few weeks, nah, he's not going to do that. They'll make a decision sooner than that.
Zeke Idelson says, this feels like the reverse of the Niners going to Green Bay in 2021. Niners better come ready. It is the reverse. That's exactly what happened. Green Bay was the 1 seed. They had a bye week, and then week 18, they sat their starters for most of the game. And then they came out, I don't know if they were flat or just not as good as the Niners in that game, but that was a really weird game. Remember they won like 13-10 or something?
Yeah, but Niners are winning this game, man. Niners are winning this game. I'm telling you guys right now, like, I think Niners not only win this game, but I think they come close to covering that spread. It's going to happen.
Speaking into existence, you're really good with your projections. I don't disagree. You're the Prize Picks man.
Not all the time. I'm only 2-2 this weekend, man. I'll see what happens today, but I'm 2 for 2 for my predictions for this weekend. Not that great.
I don't want to talk about mine. Anyway, Ryan, great show today.
Yeah.
Like the hat too.
Thank you.
Is it a Warriors hat?
Yeah, it's a Warriors hat.
Cool. All right. Are you doing? Are you working? I know you worked this morning. Are you done for the day?
I'm done for the day. But I have shows. I'm back. I took like 4 days off. I'm back every morning. So please go subscribe to the channel. I'd appreciate it.
All right. I'm pretty sure I'm back at 3. I'll have to figure that out though and text my co-host. See you guys. Take care.